Hi, beautiful people. Pina here, nutritional therapist and energy medicine practitioner. Welcome to my 101 nutrition series. The aim of this series is to give you nutritional information on various topics without mentioning scientific terms or going into details about the complicated mechanisms of the human body. Their aim is to give you day-to-day applicable information so that you can make an informed choice. In today's video, we're going to be talking about glycemic index and glycemic load. And the reason why I picked this topic is because out there is a lot of diet based on low GI, low glycemic index food. And there's lots of books being written about these diets as well, and many people are following this diet. I personally believe, and it's not just me actually, that GI is pretty misleading. And this video is on raising awareness on the reasons why it's misleading and therefore share some light on why those diets are actually not working. So first and foremost, what is GI or glycemic index? Glycemic index is a way to measure how quick some foods raise blood sugar levels within the body. And because we know that not all foods raise blood sugar levels, only those very high in carbohydrates and those high in sugars, then we can say that glycemic index is a rating system for food containing carbohydrates. So the index ranks each food on a scale from 1 to 100. The foods gets divided into three categories: low, medium, and high. Food with glycemic index between 0 and 55 is considered low GI. The food that fell into the category of GI being between 56 and 69 is considered medium. And the food in the high categories has a GI of 70 and above. So we're not going to go into details how GI is calculated because it's already been done for you. All you find online is GI charts, and these charts will have all these foods in these three categories. So if we look, and that's what got me really curious, if we look at the high GI food range, we see food groups that are pretty normal to be there, like sugar, cornflakes, white rice, potatoes, and white bread. But we also notice that watermelon, beetroot, pumpkins fell in the list of high glycemic index foods. Then we look at the low glycemic index category and we find food that generally it's high in fiber. And we know that even a carbohydrate, if contains also fiber, the absorption of blood glucose delays, therefore the GI becomes lower. So in the list of low GI food, you find food like apple, lentils, carrots, whole grain, rolled oats, but you also find foods rich in fats, such as peanuts or yogurt. And that also makes sense because I don't know if you followed my previous video, but actually I explained that carbohydrate food when eaten with fiber or fats, again the blood sugars absorption is lower within the bloodstream, so you don't get that spike. But what got me really curious was that in the low GI category, pizzas and pastas were also present. So how comes that high GI food can be beetroots and watermelon and low GI can be pizza and pasta? They didn't even make a difference being, for example, whole grain pasta against white. It was just pasta. And the reasons for this is that the way the glycemic index is calculated, it's pretty misleading. And here is why. Reason 1. GI only applies when food is eaten on its own on an empty stomach. That doesn't reflect real life, doesn't it? Do you eat white rice on your own? No. Pasta, peanuts, yogurt, cornflakes. That's not the way we eat. We don't eat a single food in isolation. Reasons number 2, and this was a game changer for me. GI value is calculated on a serving of 50 grams of net carbs. What does it mean? Well, first of all, what's net carbs? Net carbs is the total carbohydrate of the food minus the fibers. We explained in a previous video that fiber, it's a carbohydrate, it's a complex carb. but has a different functions within the body. The body does not break it down, the fiber, into small molecular sugars to then be absorbed. So that's the reason why they take the fiber out. It doesn't count as a carbohydrate that goes into glucose metabolism. So I repeat how the GI is calculated. It's calculated on a serving of 50 grams of net carbs. So what that means is that the number that they obtain, which is the GI number for each food, it's reached when the food reaches 50 grams of net carbohydrate. Which what basically means is that they do not take into account portion sizes. I'll give you an example. White rice. In order to get 50 grams net of carbohydrates in white rice, you need 56 grams of white rice. White rice, 56 grams, contains 50 grams of net carbs. 56 grams of white rice is pretty much a portion, isn't it? It's a serving size. So that number for white rice, it's accurate. Watermelon, which appears in the list of high GI food, that's a different story. In order to get to that 50 grams of net carbs, by which GI number is calculated, you need to eat 700 grams of watermelon. 700 grams. That's a medium fruit. It's not a portion size, isn't it? Do we eat in one serving 700 grams of watermelon in real life? Generally no, right? Portions of watermelons can be about 50 grams, 40, 60, 80 grams maximum. So portion size-wise, watermelon will fall into the actual low GI. Same for beetroot. Beetroot, you gotta have to eat 500 grams of beetroot in order to reach that 50 grams of net carbs by which the GI is calculated on. So do you see how misleading this index is? Pizza and pasta. One slice of pizza, that's about 50 grams of net carb. Again, do we eat one slice of pizza as one serving? When you go out to a restaurant and order pizza or you get your takeaway, do you just eat one slice? No, we're most likely to eat the whole thing, and that's about 6 slices, so it's 6 times that amount of carbs. And if we eat the whole thing, then of course it would be high GI, right? Not low. Pasta, same thing. Alpha cup, that's about 50 grams. 50 grams of pasta will reach the 50 grams. Actually, you can really see that all it is, it's carbohydrate. And really 50 grams, it's half a plate. No one eats 50 grams of pasta when they do. And on top of that, we never eat pasta on its own, and we always have it with sauces and oil, and so it all adds up. There's a few more reasons why GI is not accurate. Another one, for example, is that they do not take into consideration whether the food is cooked or not cooked. For example, pasta, if it's cooked al dente, will be lower GI than when pasta is overcooked. Or steel oats, they tend to be lower GI than instant oats because instant oats are being processed. Therefore, they've been stripped by their fiber. And then again, ripe fruit against unripe. Banana, for example. Ripe banana, higher GI than unripe banana. Also, another misleading reason is that they do not take into account what we eat before we actually have that carb meal. Not only with the carb meal. Again, you might have guessed it. If you have a salad, fiber-rich food, vegetables, protein, fats that slow down the absorption of glucose into the blood. And finally, we all different. Each of us might have a different relationship with the way how fast our body absorbs glucose. Genetics will have an influence, gut microbiome, and also day-to-day life, stress, mood. All these things need to be taken into consideration. So these are all the reasons why we can really see that GI is absolutely not an index to be based a diet on. So they know that. And they created another formula called GL, glycemic load. I'm not gonna go into details on what the formula is because there's charts out there that you can rely on. You don't need to know how they got to that number. Most important, GL does take into consideration portion sizes. In fact, it's calculated with that in mind. And the numbers change. So again, you have a bunch of carbohydrates and sugar-rich foods, which gets divided into 3 categories, low, medium, and high, but the GL number is actually smaller. So you will have from 0 to 10, low category of foods, from 11 to 19, medium, and everything from 20 onwards is considered a high GL food. So bottom line of this video is low GI diets not advisable. You'll end up losing out on some very nutritional and healthy foods. And you'll end up eating some foods that are actually not healthy and will still raise your blood sugar levels, causing insulin spikes and blood sugar dysregulation, feeling tired after eating, dysregulated energy levels, and so on. In fact, if you were to compare a GI chart with a GL chart, you will see that some foods from being low GI will end up being high GL or the other way around. So bottom line of this video is do not rely on low GI diets. So I guess good rule of thumb is if you want to base your diets on blood sugar regulation, look at GL, perhaps that's a little bit more accurate, but not completely accurate because of all the other reasons we've seen. Okay, portion size was a deal breaker for me and GL adjusts that. But still, food is not eaten in isolation. So my advice as a nutritionist is ditch the white product, first of all. All you have to do is not eliminate that category from your diet, but actually switching from white to whole grains, from refined to unrefined. And you can still keep your grains, your pasta, rice, bread. You can keep potatoes, maybe switch from white to sweet potatoes because they tend to have lots of more fibers and lots of more nutrients. And ditch the white sugars completely. Perhaps if you're at the beginning and you have a sweet tooth, try an unrefined cane sugar instead of white sugar. Or use honey, which is incredibly rich of micronutrients and lots of natural enzymes. And perhaps if you love sweets, then switch to fruits. Fruits contain natural glucose, which is a sugar that, guess what, it does not raise your blood sugar level. And on top of that, of course, fruits is super rich of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and natural occurring fibers. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and also comment. Let me know what eating regime are you on, if you're happy with it, what would you like to change, and I think next time we're gonna be talking about sugar addiction and why it can be so difficult for people to wean off sugary foods. Bye for now.